this is interesting. We showed you the Martha Raddatz soundbite where the media basically takes what it wants to take and presents it to the American people, or it ignores stuff. And I'm going to give you two examples. So the mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, has been indicted on corruption charges, essentially taking bribes from the Turkish government and helping them out on a building situation in New York City. Adams is innocent until proven guilty. I would not resign if I were Adams. I would fight these charges, but New York Times today called for him to resign, primarily because the New York Times, he's not liberal enough for them. And they'd let this guy, Jumaane Williams, who's a socialist, and he would take over. I think that's what's going on. But anyway, this got to the level of the national news, because New York City is the largest city in the country, and MSNBC, it's hard to believe, but listen to this. Go.
Now, I'm going to tell you for a moment a story of two New Yorkers, one from Brooklyn, one from Queens, both of whom are facing criminal indictments. Both are accused of taking cash from foreign governments. Both are accused of enriching themselves while in office.
All right, well, Donald Trump has not been accused of taking cash from a foreign government, so that's just a lie. And it's not hard to check that out. He has been accused by Democrats, but no formal investigation. His businesses, which are run by his son, they have profited from doing business overseas. But they did that long before Trump ever got into the political arena. In fact, the most authoritative study on the Trump situation is that the former president lost money by running for president. I don't know either way, but there are two sides to the story. But for an NBC News employee to say flat out, okay, that both are accused of taking cash, Trump's not accused of taking cash. This is not true. Now, this happens every day at NBC News. Every day. I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting there. If I'm the CEO, I kind of say, call Ms. Reid in and say, look, we don't mind if you hate Trump. Okay, but you just can't be spouting this out under our banner. When I worked at Fox News, if you made a misstatement on the air, you had to correct it. You were called in. Not anymore. Now, there was a report out by ICE, the government agency, Homeland Security, that says 425,000 criminal migrants are currently in the USA unsupervised, including 13,000 either convicted or accused of homicide. That's a big story, right? 425,000 criminal aliens unsupervised in the USA. And this comes from ICE, Mayorkas. All right. ABC News doesn't report it. CBS News doesn't report it. Lester Holt on NBC Nightly News mentions it, but doesn't, no package or anything like that, just mentions it. Now, this is a dereliction. This is ignoring a major story. Joining us now from Eugene, Oregon, is University of Oregon journalism professor Peter Laffer. He's a PhD, but he, even more than that, he holds the James Wallace Chair in Journalism at the University of Oregon, and he has been awarded the Marshall Prize for Teaching Innovation. That's pretty good. He's got a book out that Neon, Nevada, about how signs, if you've ever been to Nevada, how they influence a culture. Very interesting. So he joins us now, as I said, from Eugene in Duck Land. All right, Professor, you've been around for a while. Have you seen a deterioration on the national front about reportage to the American people?
You know, Bill, it's nice to see you. And when I'm looking at the two of us, we look like the dichotomy of a caricature of the dichotomy of the country. And here you are in your elegant suit, and here I am in a pullover sweater, and you shaved this morning, and I seem to have forgotten to shave. And you mentioned your time studying in Boston. It was about the same time that I was at the University of California, Berkeley. And you just mentioned NBC News. I spent many years as an NBC News correspondent. And so to your question, is there a deterioration? And by extension to what you said before we started talking here on camera, what's happening in journalism education, I think that we have to appreciate the reality that we're in an entirely different media climate. And what you and I can agree on is that the divided country consumes divided media. And so if you combine questions about journalism education, which we are addressing right now, this is the first day of the term at the University of Oregon, and it's the first day of a new curriculum in the journalism school designed exactly for this issue, to make sure we are preparing this next generation appropriately. And when you look at the divided country, the divided media, I think that the answer to the question that your producer posed to me when we talked about us talking together here on your show, what difference does it really make what the coverage is? Because we've got this divided country looking at
Okay, but let me stop you
media.
there. We as journalists, shouldn't be interested in sociology. We should be interested in fact gathering and presenting facts in a fair, accurate way. Now, Ms. Reed is not a journalist. She's an ideologue. I have no problem with that because, as you said, it's a divided country. You can make a lot of money talking to the choir, which they all do now, all of them, 100%.
Everybody, including you and including me in the classroom.
No. I try not to do that, all right? Very hard, try to not do that. When I say I believe this, I back it up with facts. That's all I ask. So when Ms. Reed totally misstates something about Donald Trump or anybody else, doesn't NBC News have an obligation to make her correct the record? Yes or no?
Well, my NBC News, a different era, certainly did. And
yeah, so did mine. My ABC and CBS News.
And so I would hope that when errors are made, whether they are presentation errors or factual errors, they are corrected. But what's important,
they're not.
I believe, is to what I missed you. What did you say?
They're not corrected. I mean, it's now,
I would hope.
It's a wildfire that's not being fought. So look, you go into the classroom.
The problem, Bill, is greater, I think, because society now, American society, seems intent on seeking confirmation of their confirmation bias.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so that's why. So here, this is delivered every morning on the driveway. And every morning after I read it, I am punching up Fox. I'm looking at the likes of you. I don't necessarily agree with you, although there are times when we agree. When we talked last, we were talking about border issues, and we both agreed that the border was a disaster. We just disagreed on how to address it.
But that's fine. That's fine. None of that matters.
Exactly.
If you are a person who loves your country, you have to respect dissent. So you have the urchins pouring into your classroom. And I'm afraid, because I know this to be true in some schools, that the fact-finding, gathering process is now being de-emphasized, and the ideological crusade articulated by Jim Ruttenberg in the New York Times, and I'm sure you're familiar with that column, Trump is so bad, we can't be fair. We got to get him. That's what's being taught in a lot of these schools, and that's wrong.
Let me take this moment, Bill, to formally, on behalf of my class, and I'm sure plenty of my colleagues at the university, invite you to come out and sit in my classroom My first class is tomorrow of this term, goes on through the middle of December. Come on out and sit in my classroom. Sit quietly at first, and then I'll love to give you the podium. But sit in my classroom and see what
That would be
we
great.
do.
I'd rather
at the
interview. I'd
University
like
of
to
Oregon.
interview some of your students, but it's not going to happen this semester. But maybe because me, I worked in Oregon. I worked in Portland. I love Oregon. Oregon is beautiful, but it's crazy.
The invitation is open, and it comes with grilled salmon and a Pinot Noir.
Last question for you, and this is a very important question, Professor. Something you might address with your students. By having ABC and CBS News totally ignore a government report that says almost 500,000 criminals from other countries are now running around unsupervised, totally not reported. I mean, then you don't have a media anymore. It's so corrupt. Why even bother? I'll give you the last word.
Okay. The onus, Bill, and this is a tough assignment coming from your favorite professor, the onus is on the news consumer. The news consumer has to be sophisticated enough to avoid misinformation, disinformation, outright propaganda, and the news consumer has to be able to have the sophistication to look past the lies and to look past the absence of information and find it, because especially in today's environment,
that's a good point.
Everything is out there. You just have to go get it because you care, not sit back and have it vomited up at you.
Okay, and it seems that's happening because the network news ratings, morning, evening, late night, are just in a free fall, and so are the cable ratings. So people are saying, you know what? I'm tired of being lied to, and I don't want propaganda, and walking away.
That's right,
Professor,
and that's why the answer to the initial question from your producer is, what difference does it make?
Well, it makes a difference because there are a lot of uninformed.
Of course it does, but conceptually, what difference does it make? Because there is this absence of engagement with the sophistication of knowing what's out there and how to get it.
But you have to understand.
That's what we need to teach both reporters and consumers.
Most people are not going to go to your class, and they're not college graduates. And what a fascinating subject might be for a paper in your class would be to examine Stalin and Hitler and what they did in their countries as far as the media is concerned. Okay. But look, you get ready, you get those ducks ready out there.
Open invitation to you.
All right.
Open invitation to you.
Will would probably bring a camera in there because that would be pretty fun. Thank you, Professor. Appreciate it. Stay well. By now, you have heard me talk about Delta Rescue. They are a fantastic organization that helps rescue animals from the wilderness. You know, I'm a dog lover, so is Leo Grillo, the founder of Delta Rescue. It is his life's mission to provide everlasting care for these once abandoned animals. I myself have donated to Delta Rescue. Do you believe it is part of man's duty to care for dogs and horses, the animals that so much of our history is tied to? If so, please consider making a donation or consult your advisor about leaving a gift in your will or trust. There can be some tax advantages, and it's a great way to help Delta Rescue accomplish their mission. So please visit deltarescue.org to learn more. That's deltarescue.org. So polling starts to matter now, and it's all over the place. You know, if you follow the polling like we do, you know, Trump's ahead here, he's behind here, and it changes from poll to poll, and your head blows off. But we focused in earlier this week on Atlas Intel. It's a poll that was the most accurate last time around 2020. All right, Atlas Intel is the smallest average error across pollsters of the 2020 U.S. presidential race. So it's the best, or was the best. So I told myself, I want to know more about this poll because, you know, a lot of these polls are dishonest. And this one looks like it's not. So we tracked down Dr. Andre Roman. He lives in Brazil, where he runs his company, which is a database products for political intelligence and economic forecasting company, not just politics, does a bunch of stuff. And he joins us now from Porto Alegre. So Dr. Roman has a PhD from Harvard. I'm not going to hold that against you. I only have a master's degree from the Cambridge institution. But why do you think you were the most accurate last time around in the USA?
It was quite surprising even for us. This was the worst cycle for the US polling industry in 4 decades. And all of our polls came within the margin of error, not just at the national level or the national popular vote, but also in each of the swing states we released poll. We conduct all of our polling online. We adopt a reverse sampling strategy. That means we don't have a panel. We always recruit new respondents. Over time, we have developed innovative strategies for sample calibration. We do this all over the world. We work in Latin America. We were also the most accurate pollsters of the last presidential election here in Brazil, the last 3 cycles in Argentina, in Colombia, in Chile.
Okay, so we are accepting that Atlas now is the one that we look to for the most accurate presentation. Now, you might be wrong this time, so I might have to make fun of you after the election. What trends are you picking up in the United States? Because there's only 4.5 weeks now before we vote. What trends are you picking up?
There's quite significant strength for Donald Trump in the national popular vote. I know this is not something that all the polls point to. Most actually have Kamala Harris ahead. This is not our case. We have Trump 3 points ahead in terms of the national popular vote. There's a huge question, though, as to how this will work out in terms of the Electoral College. I think we all remember the midterms and the red wave that kind of failed to materialize itself. There was actually a significant improvement for Republicans. They scored 2.8 points ahead of Democrats, but that was not helpful in terms of the balance with the seats as they would have expected. So one thing I would point to this is that major states like New York, California, where Democrats have significant trouble in terms of governor approval. There's also a corruption scandal in New York City. Well, that's really going to affect Democrats in terms of the national vote, but that doesn't really matter for the Electoral College. And what happens in the Electoral College, for example, is that a place like Carolina, which generally is considered a lean Republican state, right now doesn't look that great because of the gubernatorial race there. So it will be very tight in terms of the results in some of the swing states. Trump in our numbers is better than with most pollsters, but I wouldn't say this election has already been won. This will be very tight in some of the really important states.
Okay, and then if it is tight, then you're going to have accusations of fraud. You know that's coming because that's the culture that we live in here, very intense. So at this point in 2020, because it's worth considering this, each candidate on the Democratic side is very similar. Biden was similar to Harris. They both didn't want to answer questions, didn't put themselves out much. Is there a difference between the way Trump is running now and when he ran 4 years ago?
I do see differences in terms of how Trump is running his campaign. I think that rejection rates for Trump this time around are a bit less intense than last time. He's not really a novelty anymore as he used to be in the U.S. scenario. So in particular with moderate Republicans that were kind of averse to his profile in important swing states in Georgia and Arizona last time around. Now with the border crisis, for example, in Arizona, that may have improved, right? At the same time, with the Democratic ticket, you're looking at a ticket that with Biden had very little chance because of very poor approval ratings. Kamala has really shifted the race, but at the end of the day, the approval rating for this administration is quite poor in terms of re-election chances for the incumbent president and in this case, given that we're talking about the vice president.
Yeah, I'm going to check in with you before the vote, and we appreciate your expertise down there in Brazil. Very interesting that a Brazil polling agency tops all the American ones, that's for sure. Thank you, Doctor. Appreciate it very much. The Federal Reserve has dropped interest rates, so you need to call my friends at American Financing today. With mortgage rates in the fours, it's a perfect time to consolidate debt and reduce your monthly expenses. Now, many of us have been forced to use credit cards due to the cost of groceries, utilities, even childcare. And thanks to insanely high credit card rates, that debt becomes even more expensive. But American Financing helps homeowners, just like you, save more than $800 a month on average. They're even closing in as fast as 10 days. You can close it all in 10 days. And if you start today, you might be able to delay the next 2 mortgage payments. There's no upfront fees. To find out how much you can save, please call American Financing, 888-462-9557, 888-462-9557, AmericanFinancing.net/bill. My Pillow has been canceled by another box store. That's too bad. But they're sharing an incredible offer for my listeners. Now for a limited time, you can get the standard size My Pillow for just $14.98. Usually retails for $49.98. My Pillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. So it holds its shape all night long to give your neck maximum comfort, get it aligned, and give you the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. There are deals on 4-piece kitchen or bath towel sets. Only $25 per set. New mattress toppers as low as $69.98. Famous My Pillow bed sheets, love them, as low as $25, and much more. Please go to mypillow.com or call 1-800-869-0298. Use promo code BILL to get huge discounts on all My Pillow products, including the standard size My Pillow, now only $14.98. Don't delay, order today. Smart Life. So last night, as we mentioned, we had a special for premium and concierge members on BillOReilly.com. It was a pre-election special where you send in questions to me, and I give you my honest opinion. We did some outside of the election questions too. There were some very, very good questions. About 40 minutes. If you missed it, you can go to BillOReilly.com homepage and get it. If you're a premium or concierge member, this is exclusive for you guys. This is perks for you guys. We're going to do another one last week in October. I might dress up as J.D. Vance, like a little beard, you know. Anyway, it's Halloween reference. I want to show you just a little of the interaction we had last night because it was a lot of fun. Go. Howard, Boynton Beach, Florida, nice town. If progressives are able to take all 3 branches of government, what are the consequences for the middle class? Massive inflation. That's what's going to happen because progressives will spend, we got $35 trillion in debt. In the first 2 years of a Harris administration, go to $40 trillion. I think that's the tipping point for the dollar. So you'll pay more and more and more and more and more because Harris has no idea about macroeconomics, has no clue on how to deal with that, never dealt with it an entire life. And unlike J.D. Vance, who blamed Harris for the inflation, it wasn't Harris's fault. It was Biden's. Biden ordered all of that spending, and Harris had nothing to do with it, but she cheerleaded it. You remember Bidenomics is great, all that nonsense, okay? But if she had the top job, yeah, no idea. And the progressive philosophy is spend, 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 tax, 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 and that would just rip through the economy. So it's not going to be good. Every working class American will be harmed dramatically if Harris wins and Congress goes Democrat. Now, the underlying reason for this is vote buying. This is very important. So the liberal Democratic Party has always done this since the Great Depression. since Franklin Roosevelt. There's another reason why you should read Confronting the President. Ever since then, the Democratic Party, the liberal wing, has said we're going to give money in the form of entitlements to Americans who don't have very much. And therefore, they'll vote for us in perpetuity because we're the party that gives them money. And that's why we have all these enormous federal programs, food stamps, public housing, on and it never ends. And Harris wants to up all that. $6,000 if you have a kid, $25,000 just given to you if you're a first-time home buyer. It's unsustainable. You can't sustain it because the Treasury has to print all that money. All right? So you got to have the dollar in order to give it away. Once they start to print all that money, the money that's in circulation goes down in value. It's too many dollars. So that's economics. If you don't have much of something, like diamonds, the value is high. If you have too much of something, the value goes down. So people who are working, if their dollar isn't worth, they got to pay more for what they need, the essentials of life. Now, most Americans have no clue. They've never taken an economics class. They don't know macroeconomics, and Kamala Harris is in that category. She is a machine politician. She doesn't understand economics. She'll have progressives telling her, oh, we got to do this. Oh, you got to do that. That's what her whole campaign is. We're going to give it away, give it away, give it away, and take it away from O'Reilly and the other people in America who have money. We're taking it away from them. It's Robin Hood. And then we're giving it to you. That has a lot of appeal. That is the main appeal of the liberal left in this country. And again, you got to stop it at some point, but they won't. And here's the final point. It's very important. The progressive left, George Soros, these people, again, not Kamala Harris, not Joe Biden, they have no idea. They want the dollar to crash. They want the U.S. economy to go into a depression. Why? Because then the federal government will take over the entire economy in an emergency basis. But of course, they'd never give it back. And that's what socialism is. The free marketplace doesn't exist. The government tells everybody, individuals and companies, what they can and can't do. All right? So you got to hire this amount of blacks. You got to hire and pay this salary. All right? That's what socialism is. No free market, no competition. Government decides. That's what Soros and his crew want. Again, Biden and Harris play right into that, but they don't really understand it. I would say 80% of Americans do not know what I just told you. 80%. But it's true. Now, we hope you will consider Concierge and premium membership on BillOReilly.com. It will enhance your life. It will protect you to some degree. You will be way out in front of what's really happening in this country. We've set this whole apparatus up so it doesn't cost you much money. You become a premium or concierge member, you get Confronting the President's free or any of my other killing books. The best thing you could do for your friend or somebody in your family is give them a premium membership. Then you get a book and all that other stuff. So we are not price gouging. I've kept this price the same. I think it's 5 years now. Maybe we raised it a few bucks because of overhead costs, but we've kept it way below what other businesses charge for the same service. Thank you for watching the No Spin News. To watch the full episode anytime on BillO'Reilly.com, please sign up to become a premium or concierge member. Visit BillO'Reilly.com to sign up and start watching today.